Hi, thank you for joining me for today's process video, and today we are on day 10 of 30 Days of Sketches with Christie's Beautiful Life Series 18, and today's sketch you can see in the top left hand corner there is by Francis West. So today I'm using Hidden Creek from Arden Creative Studio, and I'm just cutting up lots of 1.5-inch squares to create those lovely triangles, I suppose, across the page that you can see in the sketch there. So I've got two photos of James and Amelia on a cruise that we were on in 2015. We'd gone to Bruges for the day and decided to do one of the riverboat tours, and Amelia was invited to steer the boat. So she was very excited. Well, they were both invited to steer the boat, but James was a little nervous and declined, but she hopped on and was there with the captain. It was wonderful. So you can see here I've just cut up, using the scraps that I've got from this collection, just cut up various squares. These papers are all double-sided, so it's great. You can use both sides, so you really don't need to cut up that much to create this pattern. And you can see here I'm just cutting up some of them diagonally across to create the triangles that sit along the edges. So the left-hand piece has 4 triangles, and then the top and bottom pieces both have 3 triangles and 3 squares, with the left-hand side having 6 squares. So I think I totaled that it was 17 squares that I needed to cut, with 5 cut in half. I think that was it. So I'm just positioning these roughly so that I get an idea of where they're going to sit on the page. As I started building these triangles, I realised that my squares are definitely a little bit smaller than those on the sketch, but that's fine. I'm going to make it work for me. And I'm just working out where they're going to sit on the page, because I'm going to add some pencil marks and then do some mixed media in the background. So just checking that I'm happy with the positioning, that I'm happy with the way the photos are going to sit in between all those triangles. You can see I've moved the bottom one to the right a little bit, and I shall move the top one to the left a bit, just to create some interest on the page rather than having the top and bottom ones pointing directly to each other. So here I am just adding pencil marks at the tip and at the base of each of the triangles, and then drawing a very faint pencil line so I can work out where my mixed media is going to go. Now I pulled the first lot of squares and triangles off with great gusto at the bottom, and then realised that I should have kept these in their individual piles. So I messed up the bottom and left ones ever so slightly, but it's fine. They're more or less in the piles that I'm going to use. So now I'm pulling in one of the new Hey Little Magpie stencils. This is the street map stencil, and I wanted to use it to kind of create the riverways, or a feel of the riverways that you have in Bruges. So that's why I'm using my speckled egg ink to mimic the water there. And I'm just going to make sure that the stencil is on the outer edge of that pencil line, so it shows when I rebuild the squares and triangles there. So I'm not being too careful, I'm just trying to get some texture on the background really, because this is just going to be an accent, sort of like a shadowing behind those triangles really. You won't notice it totally in the final layout, but it just adds some interest to the background. So now that's done, I'm going to go through each of these pieces and stick them back onto the background, first distressing the edges, and I'm being bold. I'm using my Nuvo Deluxe adhesive to get it stuck down. So I'm just adding glue to the middle of the square and triangle so that the edges can flow freely. And again, that creates a nice texture on the background. So I start by adding the triangles down the edge, and then I shall build up the squares afterwards, and I'll do that to all 3 sections. I won't make you watch all of this because it's pretty monotonous. It's just the same thing over and over, very repetitive, but it just gives you an idea. I'm just showing you the start so that you can see exactly how I'm doing it. So I'll get this last triangle down, and then I think I'll show you one of the squares before moving on. And these aren't going back in exactly the same position that they were the first time I laid them out. I just wanted to make sure that I had a nice mix of all the different patterns of pattern paper in each of these triangle sections. So moving on, here's the last square going down, and then I can start building up the rest of the layout. So as I mentioned, it's Hidden Creek from Arden Creative Studio, and the colours are just perfect for these photos. You can see there's beautiful greenery on this boat trip, lots of trees and things along the edges of the river or canal. So I thought of this collection straight away when I decided I was going to scrap these photos. So I'm just going to map them onto scrap white cardstock here just to get that lovely crisp border, and then I'm going to use that dark brown dotty paper as a second mat, just because I like the dark colour against all the other paler colours that I've got going on in this layout. So that's how the photos are going to sit. I keep messing around, but they do sit like that. So here's that dotty paper, and I'm just going to add these on with a very small border, just to give that dark contrast against the white card background. And I'm just going to use my scissors to cut this out, nothing fancy. And with this dot, it's almost like a grid pattern, so it's easy to keep a straight line. And I'm not going to distress the edges of this paper because I've cut it so close to the white border. I didn't want to lose the colour completely, so I'm just going to keep it without distressing the edges just on the photos. I've got all the lovely distressed edges on those built up triangles from the squares. So getting this stuck down using plenty of adhesive because it is going slightly over those patchwork pieces. I was trying to think what to call them. And then you can see here, I just pulled this out. When I was cutting the squares, I noticed this lovely little flag that says together, and I just thought that would be really nice as a little accent piece. So I'm going to go into the ephemera pack. I haven't got the laser cuts for this collection yet. They sold out before I decided that I wanted it. So I have got them back in stock now at Hey Little Magpie, but I haven't actually grabbed them yet, so I must do that before they go again. So I'm just building up a little cluster here on the left-hand side of the photo. You can see in the sketch that Frances has got some florals here in the bottom left. I'm not sticking exactly to the sketch where she's got all of her little bits and pieces, but more or less. So I've got a lovely little label piece there that's going to go behind that together bit, and then this gorgeous leafy piece here. So just working out exactly where I want that to go before tucking it in. And I've got that yellow ticket as well, and I just find a little butterfly that I'm going to add to the left. And also this ribbon loop. It's just a tiny piece of ribbon that had obviously got scooped up when I was clearing away after using this collection last time. So I'm just going to tuck that in behind, and that just brings that yellow in, and here's that yellow butterfly that's going to go up at the top there. And I love all the nature pieces that are in this collection, and because we're outside, it just works really nicely. So that title, Explore More, I thought would work really nicely with these photos. So I'm just going to add that underneath the picture. And because the photos have been offset against each other and slightly at an angle, I'm just using my T-square ruler to make sure that I get this title straight. My head was buzzing with all the different angles that I've got on this page, so I wanted to make sure that that was straight there. So now I'm just going through to see what else I can add. I find this little piece that I'm going to add to the top. And then just looking else to see what else I can find. And I find this little piece. I'm so sorry I haven't got the layout in front of me. I thought I'd grabbed it, but I'd left it where I'd taken the photo earlier. So I'm just working from my screen, and it's tiny. I can't read those words from here, but hopefully you can read them. I just thought that added nice balance there. And then I'm just trying to decide what to add to the right hand side of the photo. So I'm going to add this craft tab so that I can put my date on there in due course, and then I'm going to add my journaling underneath that title. So just drawing some guidelines using my pencil, and then I'll just use a black gel pen to do my journaling, just saying where we are and what was happening. And then I wanted to bring this yellow in. I've got that yellow butterfly at the top above the leafy piece, so I wanted to follow that diagonal line, so I popped that yellow heart on the right hand side there. So just bringing in some more butterflies. And then I saw this, I don't know if it's an otter or a beaver, but I just thought, well, we're on a waterway, and I doubt very much that I would use this on any other layout, and it just seems to work. So I'm just popping that down at the bottom there. So now that's there. Another butterfly, of course. Plenty of butterflies on this layout. There are lots in this collection. So then I'm going to come into the rub-ons and see what I can see in here. Straight away I see a lovely teal cluster, which I'm going to add under the craft tab to the right hand side of that photo. And this lovely green leafy piece, which is going to add as another layer underneath that leaf die cut. And you just get a lollipop stick, a wooden lollipop stick, to rub these off with. And they're beautiful rub-ons. They work really well. It's the user rather than the rub-ons here. I was trying to be a bit hasty instead of taking my time. So if you just peel the backing slowly, you see if it hasn't stuck, and then you can just go back in again. So here's that lovely teal piece that I was talking about. So that's going to go down here. And again, just going at it with great gusto and trying to make sure that I've covered most of the rub-on before pulling off the backing. So I've got these little bits left that would have been behind the tab. So just adding those to the bottom there. And then here's a little yellow piece that I'm going to add just underneath that title there. And this is building up the background really nicely. And then I spot these butterflies and decide that I want to add one of those. And it does take me a moment to choose where to put it because I've already got quite a few of the die cut butterflies down. But I end up having it up here. And once again, I didn't really pay close enough attention to where I was rubbing, and I pulled a bit off. But it's so easy just to realign it and rub it on, and you can't even tell that that was ripped. So this is from a Simple Stories collection, just a little title that says "Do Your Thing," and I thought that would be really nice at the top there, but I do have to pull that butterfly up and move it up a little bit just because the title was sitting on it. So very nearly there. Now don't forget to check the description box down below to see everybody else who's playing along. I'll add any details for Francis that I can find online. Just adding my roller date stamp here to some scrap white card, and I'll stick that down onto that craft tab. And then I'm going to add some splatters with the same ink, that speckled egg ink. So just smushing it down onto my glass mat, and then using a wet paintbrush, I'm just going to cover up my photos so I don't get any splatters over that. And then just using a fairly small headed paintbrush just to get some fine splatters all the way around the edges of those triangles. And that's the layout done. Thank you so much for joining me. I hope I've provided some inspiration. Have you had this collection? It really is absolutely beautiful. I would highly recommend looking at it. Other than that, I shall see you again very soon. Thanks for joining me. Bye.